If you love bookish crafts, this is the one for you, especially if you love Jane Austen classics like Pride and Prejudice. So I have made these books that are meant to be destroyed. You can still read them, but they have these templates for different kinds of roses. It's actually 7 different kinds. But we've got cream paper, black, dark black, ultra black color, rich color paper, and the white paper, which I'm going to demo with. Go ahead and ignore this ugly, not for resale stripe that won't be on the final books, but this is Pride, Prejudice, and Paper Roses. That's just a mark for manufacturing of proof copies. But up in the corner, you can see what color of paper you're getting. On the back is a picture of a real prototype flower that I made. And inside you can see it's tightly formatted to avoid a lot of blank space. And on every right-hand page, there are semi-transparent drawings. On the left-hand page, there's nothing. And it is kind of hard to see in this view, sorry. I'm going to adjust that, but I have a new camera, so it's a little fidgety trying to figure that out. Here up close, you can see a little bit better the lines. It is totally legible, so you can enjoy reading it before you cut it up. Each book has a picture of the final product, and right here you'll see in the white, cream, and black versions, you can make 50 rose blossoms or 33 blossoms with stems. There's thorough instructions, even for left and right-handed folks. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to make one of these. What you're going to do is take a sharp craft knife and cut as close to that inside margin as you can. You will be dealing with sharp objects and hot glue, so make sure that if you are with kids or someone with some impairments that you're helping out. For each rose, you are going to cut out 2 pages, or 2 sheets of pages, we should say, 2 sheets of paper. And on there you can find 5 different sizes of petal layers, 4 stem leaves, and 4 sepal leaves, the smaller ones. You'll cut out the different pieces by the solid lines, and then there's some little tiny dotted lines. Those are for folding. First, we're going to cut out our petal layers. Got all 5 there. And again, this is going to be a little different for a right-handed versus left-handed person because of which direction you want to fold and cut. I'm right-handed, so I'm folding it up, and then I couldn't remember for a second. It had been a hot minute since I worked on these, but I'm folding it then to the left. So basically the open part is on the left. That way if there's any page shift, it's just a little more solid. So you're going to carefully cut these out, and it is important to remember that you can always take off more. So you don't want to take off too much where they join there at the tip. You want it to remain one piece, not become 4 separate little pieces. You probably wouldn't even see them, but I'm kind of a perfectionist, so I do see little bits of that gray line that I didn't cut off, so I just cleaned that up a bit. And then from here, you're going to decide which side you want facing up versus down. Do you want the chapter header, little swirly art? Do you want those big drop caps? Do you want a lot of space? Each flower is going to be different because of which direction you choose and what pages you choose. So I'm going to take this one, and you're going to remember that you're going to curl down, but that side is going to be facing up. You'll see in the end. You want to be very careful how you hold it. We're going to curl it kind of like ribbon with scissors. You're going to want to hold it at the base of each petal as you do it. If you hold it in the middle or on a different petal, it's going to rip off. This is regular book printing paper. It's not some special crafting paper. So be a little gentle with it. You don't have to be super gentle. Kind of get the feel for it as you go. And you are going to go and curl down the petals for the 4 largest layers. The smallest one is going to be treated differently. So I've got my 4 here, and then a hot glue gun. I highly recommend to have one that has settings if you can, high and low. I use low because it gives me more time to work with things. It's less messy, and I burn myself less when you're working with the little details of this. And I don't use other kinds of glue just because this sets faster, and I think it's just less hassle. So we're going to take the small one, and it can be a little tedious. I don't love doing the very inner part of the bud with this, but the others happen a lot faster. With this, you're going to more carefully, tightly roll around one of the petals. And what you want to constantly remember is just the flowy nature of flowers and the fact that you want it to gradually get bigger. You want it to open up. So I'm going to tightly curl that around and then secure it with some glue. Then we're going to fold that up so the middle becomes its base and do the petal across from it. Just give it a little curl with your finger or glue stick, whatever. And again, you don't want it quite as tight, you want it to be opening up. Secure that in place, and we're going to do the exact same thing with the last two petals on this layer. Sorry, my angles are a little bit here and there. Getting used to a new setup, and sometimes it's hard to do intricate details and also remember to stay within a certain zone of filming. After we've secured those and those are looking nice, I just want to make sure the base of that is pretty flat so it can stand on its own. We don't want it looking too wonky. And next we are going to affix it to the next layer. So your curls are going to face down. Put that blob of glue in the middle. Just make sure it's secure. And then we're going to fold one of these up. So the next 4 layers go by super fast. They're less intricate, and you're really just going to be securing them at the base. But again, remembering that you want them to kind of fluff out to open up. So securing them there just with a little like V shape near the base and pinching it in place. And then unlike the bud layer, I'm going to do these one after the other. I'm not going to do opposites. I think it just looks more natural to do them in a row this way. I kind of fidgeted with this one a little bit more than I usually need to, probably because I'm looking through a screen, but not every rose is going to be as great looking as another, and that's perfectly fine. Ignore that there's a little bit of coloration on my glue. I was still getting rid of some of the residue of a previously colored glue stick. When you're doing these layers, it is important to remember the more straight edges and where they're separated, and to stagger that. They smoothly fan out in an unbroken line. So that's why staggering them like this makes sure that the breaks between the petals are not noticeable. And at this point, those 4 biggest ones, you're just going to keep making sure you're staggering, that you have the side pointing up that you want so that the curl faces down, and pinching those into place. It goes a lot faster at this point. Now I'm showing you how to make the basic blossom. You can just do blossoms if you want. You don't have to do the stem and the leaves, but I'll show you how to do that, and also different variations like with color paper, thicker paper, and also just some fun like how you can put a twist on it. I don't know why I don't have a toothpick to help me kind of tidy this up in the middle, but that's what I recommend. But there it is, one of my pretty blossoms. And next up I have my stem leaves and my sepal leaves. And I'll show you how to make the stem. So if you do the stems, you can't make as many blossoms because you have to sacrifice blossom pages. But it's flexible depending on why you want them, whichever way you want them. You're going to take paper and rolling in a way that covers up that overlay, because that's not particularly pretty. You want to forget that's there. I'm going to say I redo this because I don't like how it turns out the first time. It's too thick up there. It's too much of a cone. You want it to be fairly tight and on just a slight angle so it's not a giant cone. But you do want a little bit of a cone. So I like this second roll. Looks pretty good. Fairly tight up there. Not too wide down there. Then I'm going to take some more glue and secure that little tab in place. The thinner end of the tube will be the top portion, and you're going to pinch about 1.5 inches or 38 millimeters to make that portion flat. We're going to be making the pedestal, little triangular pedestal, to connect the stem to the blossom. And you can see here, just putting a little bit of angle and shape to it. It's not an exact science and measurement, but you want it to end up looking about like this. Got that little tab there that we are going to glue. And from here, we're going to attach it to that flat base of our blossom. This one I give the heaviest portion of glue, make sure it's good and stuck there. But we're gonna do a little something more to cover up that kind of eyesore and make a smoother transition and secure it even better. And that's where the sepal leaves come into play. So I give them the base of it just a little bit of a natural curve. Again, use your finger, use your hot glue stick. And the top portion is going to attach up to the petals. You can see it a little bit better when this is the color version. The white just kind of blends in there, but you're going to curve that around the stem, glue that portion first. And I like to start by covering up that empty triangle. And then you're going to glue the top portion to the base of the petals. And just make sure to kind of tidy up those little tips there. And of course, as you're going, if there are any strands of glue, make sure to clean up as you go. And there are 4, so you can just kind of cover those 2 blank spots and then around them. Once those are secured in place, like, it's pretty solid. That's not just going to accidentally fall apart. And then if you want to add leaves in nature, it is more natural to have odd numbers. There are 4 per sets of pages, but you can have some with 3, some with 5. And I'm going to show you some different things you can do with the leaves, but on this one, I'm just giving them a little bit of curl before I attach them. When they're at the top, and then make sure I go around. I do keep them up a little bit higher so they're not in the way of my hand if I'm holding it for pictures or something, or if I'm going to put more than one in a vase, they can get a bit crowded in the base. So let's talk about variations. This one, again, I did 5. Nice and full. This one, I just folded them in half instead of curling them. I think that's a nice sharp look. And again, you can see really that contrast with the sepal flowers. It looks so natural up against those petals there. On this one, I cut out all those little notches, which is more natural to the look of a rose plant, but it takes a lot of time and I was not that patient to do it on a lot of them. So you can see here the different kinds of paper: white, cream, black paper, dark black, ultra black, color paper, and rich color paper. Let me show you how it's going to work differently with the color paper versions. With these, you can't make quite as many flowers. You can only make 30 blossoms with or without the stems, because unfortunately you can't really reuse the different color pages. You can't smush it all onto the same page like I could with the solid white, cream, or black. For the most part, the construction is the same. I'm going to cut out 2 pages for the petals, and then not even a full page, just however many leaves you want, and sacrificing a green page every time you want a stem. Now the ultra black and the rich color are on this thicker paper. You can see it's also shiny. It's also the most pricey, super vivid colors. But where it is thicker paper, it is also much sturdier, though it can be a little harder to work with, like rolling it up real tight in that, because it's stiffer. I will say also on these, the sepal transition to the stem is not as natural, so I did this to kind of make it a little smoother, as I took just that trim of the edge and the margin, and then I wrapped it around after attaching the sepal. So it's not as noticeable now as it is without that. So I'm going to show you just long stem versions of all the different options. So that's white, cream, and black. Those are our standard printing, lowest prices because of production costs. And after I'm done showing off my pretties, I'm also going to show you those fun kind of alternate things that you can do with these. And there are my color and rich color ones, kind of a standard and premium color printing. One option to kind of customize this is you can choose not to make the entire flower. You can make a less mature bud to include in a bouquet. Also, you could do something here, like this is a tricolor with the cream, black, and white used in different layers. For this one, I used just some school glue and a toothpick on the edges after it was already assembled with some chunky gold glitter. Probably would help to use a little layer of clear varnish or something to secure them, but I just shook it on, shook it off, and it's kind of cute. This one I did with a more fine glitter, and I think it just looks seductive. This one, it's a little hard to see on the screen, and it probably would have done better with a different kind of glue stick, but I made water droplets. See a little bit of reflectiveness there, a little bit of darkness. I even got one kind of hanging off the edge. So just carefully placing those to try to make it look natural. Again, if I'd used a different glue stick, it probably would have been better. The ones I have are a little bit, got a little bit of whiteness there. So maybe a more true clear would be better. For this one, I had wanted a gold effect, but really it looks more like honey. But that could work. Depends on what you're going for. If you get some like green colored hot glue, alien slime, or some blood dripping. I'm just saying, you could do some cool effects depending on the type of hot glue you have. This one, before assembly, I took an ink pad and just distressed the edges. I think that looks pretty cute. Kind of like I did here, except this one I decided to also color some of the inside of the page. That is the beauty of arts and crafts, is you can just take something pretty and make it your own and customize it whatever way you want. This one I did water-soluble pencils or watercolor pencils and just colored around the edges and took a wet paintbrush to it. You do want to remember these are book pages, so they can become fragile. Don't get them more soaked than you need to, and absolutely let them dry before you handle them to add any curl or for assembly. This one I just used cheapo stuff that I've had probably since I was a kid, who knows how long, to actually watercolor on the edges there. And I decided to try one that was already assembled. And honestly, this is probably one of my favorite ones. So I'm just getting the tips here. You'll see there is a little bit of bleeding on some of the petals that are touching each other, but I don't think it's too noticeable the way that I end up doing it. And I really love how it turns out. Let me know what you think. With the splattering, it takes over the edge. And I didn't even try really to get kind of the variegated colors. But the splattering, it is, all over my counter and sink. But see a little bit of bleed through there. I still think it looks pretty. You really can't even tell unless you're looking too close. And I decided to also give the same treatment to stems and leaves. Can't leave them out if they're going to be part of the picture. There's a hashtag in the book, Regency Crafts, so we can see what versions you do. Now, where can you get these books? Depends on when you're watching this video. Right now, I am running a Pride and Prejudice special edition campaign on Kickstarter under my publishing business, Painted Wings Publishing. And there you will find beautifully illustrated books with bonus content, maps, information about the game of Whist. Also, custom illustrated and designed playing cards for the game of Whist with the characters on there. We love playing a good Elizabeth and Darcy, bookmarks, magnets, all the good stuff. These books are going to be initially released to folks who participate in that Kickstarter campaign. And sometime after that, maybe this fall or winter, they will be available at, limited online retailers. So if you want first grab at them and you're watching this early enough, go check out the Kickstarter. It's definitely linked below. Obviously, anywhere these are available, it'll be linked below. And I have already started designing the next book. I know what the color theme of that is going to be. This one was more magenta, right, with the rose. The next one is going to be blue with a different flower. Haven't designed that template for the flower yet, but you are going to be able to get this whole series of Jane Austen collector edition, special edition illustrated books, and you'll have gorgeous bouquets. While you're here, if you like other book crafts, definitely check out my playlist for that. And I have all sorts of content on here, crafting and cooking, all things creative.